Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Okay, everybody's microphone's on for the meeting? Okay. Okay, Ms. Rowley, roll call, please.
Mr. Scholes,
Here.
Mr. Smolik,
Here.
Ms. Simons,
Here.
Mr. Ziegler,
Here.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Here.
Ms. Grazia,
Here.
Mr. Hamer,
Here. Thank you. On to the minutes of the March 4th, 2024 Finance Committee work session. Need a motion?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion, changes on those? Ms. Rowley?
Mr. Scholes,
Yes.
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes. To the minutes of the March 4th, 2024 council meeting. Need a motion?
Motion to adopt the
Correct.
minutes and do the things.
We have a second?
Second.
That was Julie and Ron. Okay. Any discussion, changes? Ms. Rowley?
Mr. Scholes,
Yes.
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes. Minutes of the March 12th, 2024 Finance Committee meeting. Looking for a motion?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Ms. Grazia with the second. Any discussion or changes? Thank you. Ms. Rowley?
Mr. Scholes,
Abstain.
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes. Okay, on to department reports. Chief Hutton?
Thank you, Mr. Smolik. No formal report tonight. We did have a committee meeting last night with the Police and Fire Standing Committee. I want to thank everyone that was involved. It was very good discussion on capital equipment and staffing, and I look forward to working with council going forward. Thank you.
Any questions for Chief Hutton?
No, it's a general statement. Appreciate there's a lot of negativity in social media with the incident over at the school. I appreciate the professionalism of your department and the way you guys handled everything. So thank you.
Thank you.
And no, my mic wasn't on.
And thanks for the meeting yesterday, Chief. Very informative, as usual. Any other questions for Chief Hutton? Chief McAllister?
Thank you, Council President Smolik. I just want to echo Chief Hutton's comments. I appreciate the meeting last night. And I just want to thank the community for their understanding with the road construction up here. I know initially it created a lot of confusion. It was a mess. As of tonight, it seems like everybody's kind of figuring out the rotation. We had to get some additional signage and stuff up there, and Joe did a good job assisting with all that. So we'll continue to monitor it, make sure that we are making sure that the road is staying safe and doing traffic enforcement where necessary there. But for the area that is under construction to where we are right now from this morning and yesterday, it's come a long ways. That'll conclude my report.
Any questions for Chief McAllister? Chief, pertaining to what are the big issues you're running into there? What kind of mistakes are getting made, so to speak, or people getting hung up on?
I think Joe wants to talk to you about that.
Oh, okay.
So he got some of the first-hand complaints on it. He did a
okay.
great job with the service department
Okay, well-
addressing a lot of that.
We'll get a report from Joe, and then you can jump in if he has anything to say on that. Thank you, Chief. Any other questions? Mr. Fernaro?
Good evening, everybody. Now I know how Doug feels when I take his report, because the chief just took mine, but we'll move forward. So first of all, like always, I want to thank our team. They do a great job. I don't think you really understand what happens this time of year, right? So we're bouncing back from snow and ice to regular season to almost spring doing baseball. So they do a great job, and it doesn't go unnoticed. We put some split rail fence up at the cemetery, so made some improvements at the cemetery and rec park. And they are, from last week, they're about 8,000 feet of ditching they've done since January. So with this weather, we've been able to knock out a lot of our ditching. Now on to the bridge. So we did have some issues. It's normal, right? It's the first week of closing a major road in the city. So I would ask all our residents and the traveling public just to slow down in that area. There's plenty of signs up. You just have to pay attention. So I think we'll get through it. ODOT has been very responsive to the requests we made, and they're working through it. So that completes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Fernaro. Any questions for Mr. Fernaro?
I don't know if it was specifically you guys or if it was the construction crew, but honestly, the one-way sign at the very end of Markel has been the best sign that people seem to be able to follow the easiest. So I think that one was particularly 2 thumbs up on that one.
Thanks. Like I said, and back to your question, I'm sorry I didn't answer it. So the people coming off of 615 are still wanting to make that right going northbound, which causes a huge problem because they're in the traffic coming southbound. So we're addressing it. A couple more signs went up today, seemed to help a little bit. The most I seen stacked up in that zone was probably at 5:45 yesterday. There was maybe 20, 25 cars heading southbound. So there was a little delay. The morning rush, I was down there, didn't see any delay, and nothing this afternoon really. The next issue we're going to go into, so there was an email out from the chief that we put preemption in for police and fire to get up the hill northbound. Right now, they don't, Traffic Tech doesn't have that wired in yet, so we made a temporary zone on the west side of the bridge for police and fire to get through. So the next issue we're going to see once we get through this is when that preemption happens. So there'll be a little learning curve when that happens, but like I said, I think we'll get through it okay.
So you're going to do a dry run with the fire truck, roll it the wrong way then?
We'll do a couple
Okay.
dry runs.
Thank you.
Mr. Fernaro, I was mentioning in the mayor earlier, the biggest issues I've had so far, I've had five complaints, is when somebody's wanting to turn left on 615. You know, it just backs everything up. So is there anything that's going to be done to kind of address that? Or is there anything that can be done?
Nothing being done current.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions for Mr. Fernaro? Thank you, Joe. Mr. Courtney?
Thank you very much. Good evening. Short report tonight because they let Joe have the bridge. We still have the preliminary estimates for 24 pavement rehabilitation and maintenance prepared. Waiting passage of the budget to see where that program is going to go. We've also received proposals from coring and testing firms that as soon as we know what streets we're going to do, we'll cut them loose. And Old Town sewers are well underway. Contractor's currently on Maple. And I think Joe sent an email out saying that Maple's closed between where, Joe? Caudry and Bluff. Apparently they hit some bad ground and their trench is filling up with water, so they don't want anybody in there. Bridge projects, Joe talked about the 306 bridge, Booth Road Bridge. We're still waiting for a revised schedule from the county on that one. That should conclude my report. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Courtney. Any questions for Mr. Courtney? Thank you, Doug. Mr. Slapnicker.
Thank you, Council President Smolik. The city was provided with the Auditor of State Award for 2022, which I have made a copy for you and placed at your seat. It's a pretty short, so I'll just read it really quick. It says, the Ohio Auditor of State Award presented to City of Kirtland. This award is presented for excellence in financial reporting in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, GAAP, and compliance with applicable laws for the fiscal year ended 2022. The citizens you represent are well served by your effective and accountable financial practices, signed off on by Keith Faber, Auditor of State. So you have a copy in front of you, and we'll have this probably up on the website as well. Tonight we completed our 4th Finance Committee meeting. We've had some really good discussion. Our last meeting lasted about 2 hours, and we talked about some hot button issues in as far as the dash cameras go, the fire chassis, and the $2.5 million road improvement note. As a result of that meeting, I did make some changes to the appropriation ordinance, which included adding the dash cameras into the budget. We added a station alerting system into the budget, and we removed the fire chassis purchase from the capital improvement fund. We also added some vehicle maintenance items as a result of some insurance claims that we've had in this first quarter of the year. So ultimately, the net change from what you originally saw the first time the ordinance came across your desk to now is a negative $162,429.29. We did go over those line item changes in the Finance Committee meeting, but if you have any other questions, I am available for them.
Any questions for Mr. Slapnicker?
Louis, congratulations on the award. Did you mean the award will be on the website, or will the 2022 report be on the website? Because I don't see the 20.
You don't see it? I thought we took care of that, actually, but I'll double check on that. That will be as well on the website, but I'll double check. I thought we took care of that, but I'll get with Teresa and take a look.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Louis?
Congratulations, Louis. That's nice to get that recognition. And
Well deserved.
I will say the budget process, the data, and the reporting, it's just so much cleaner and so much easier to follow. So, hats off to you and your team. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, on to Mr. Lallo.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I have no report to add today unless you have questions for me.
Any questions for Matt? Thank you, Mr. Lallo. Ms. Zeri, a little update for the Community Senior Center, please.
Good evening, everyone. No formal report tonight. I would like to thank Mr. Slapnicker in the midst of the past few weeks and all of the budget conversations. He has taken plenty of time to answer a crazy amount of questions that I have had for him. So thank you, Mr. Slapnicker. I always appreciate your time and your patience. Just a reminder that this Saturday is our annual egg hunt out in the front and the back here on the property here at City Hall. Would love to see everyone come out and support the community. The hunt itself will last very short amount of time because kids get eggs very quickly. Begins at 10:30, but thanks to our fire department, the bunny will be coming in on a fire truck around 10 o'clock. There are also going to be crafts available at the library. They've been working hard to provide things for our families. I won't put to any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Zeri. Any questions for Ms. Zeri?
Mr. Smolik, are you playing the Easter Bunny?
Pardon?
Are you playing the Easter Bunny this year?
I'm generally not a good, I'm too fat to be the Easter Bunny. I do a better Santa Claus. Mr. LeConte going to be in the costume this year? Was the Easter Bunny last year, Mr. LeConte? Oh, okay. Thank you, Teresa. On to Mayor Potter.
Thank you, Council President Smolik. Just real quick, shout out to all of those that helped with the Shamrock Shuffle just a couple of weeks ago. Event went off without a hitch. Again, thanks to service, police, fire, always willing to lend a helping hand. All the other volunteers, and a special thanks to a young lady named Andrea Patrick from the Miracle League. She kicked off the race with an unbelievable rendition of the Star Spangled Banner, something I'll never forget. So I want to thank Andrea for coming out and taking her time and doing that. quickly, we have our third reading, or second and third reading of the budget, depending on how you look at it tonight. Thank you to Mr. Slapnicker for all of his hard work. I mean, starts shaping up at the end of the year and then into January, and then he starts having to fend off questions and meeting requests from me by the early part to middle part of January, and just a lot of work. Thanks to our department heads for their patience, for their willingness to make adjustments on the fly, make adjustments, come in, answer some tough questions and some really good committee meetings. Thanks to all of council, and to Mr. Ziegler, Councilman Ziegler, for running a finance meeting last week that I think was as productive and constructive and held in a incredibly thoughtful manner. Just can't say how proud I am, couldn't be more proud of the group itself for working through a lot of the issues that this community faces on a annual basis, and those things don't go away. But you guys have really done a tremendous job of understanding where we're at financially in the city and making some tough decisions. So thank you all for your hard work and positions throughout the process. So really, that's about the extent of what I have. Everyone else has kind of covered the main themes, but certainly open for questions.
Thank you, Mayor Potter. Any questions for the mayor?
Oh, and a quick thanks to Fairsight Technologies. They did get the phone service up and running pretty much without too many glitches, and I don't think we've had any complaints or issues over the last couple of days. At least I haven't heard of any. So it really went well, and thanks to Fairsight and Mr. Gibbs for that help.
Mayor, with respect to Ohio Gig, I think last meeting you had mentioned you had a call scheduled with them.
We did.
Do you have an update for that?
Matter of fact, yeah, we had a really good meeting. Scott, what was it, early last week? One day last week. Myself, Mr. Councilman Hamer, and Mr. Finaro met with a group from Ohio Gig, and Mr. Gibbs from Fairsight. I would say that it was completely productive. We talked about some, different kind of time frames and or rate schedules, and they'll come back to us here probably in the next, couple of weeks with something, just generally as I'm gonna call it a proposal. This is what they want to do here in the city, and if there's anything we can help with as a city in terms of, either whether it's land use or just different types of partnerships. So I'll leave it a little vague until we see a potential proposal from them.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mayor Potter? Thank you, Mayor. Okay, on to standing committee reports. Mr. Schultz, do you want to quick comment on yours?
So the Police and Fire Committee met last night at Fire Station 1, and we went through, the purpose of the meeting was to look at overtime, capital, and capital wants, wishes, and needs. Both chiefs stepped through a past history of overtime and projected overtime, and we looked to see as a milepost check the changes that were made with staffing, if that has had a positive effect. Some of the variances were explained. We looked at our vehicle fleet and the age of service of each one, and then also relative to replacement. And then Chief Hutton spent about 3/4 of the meeting going through the truck that the fire engine that he would like to purchase, and we had the representative Adam Gorski from Rosenbauer there to answer questions about the changes in the industry relative to inflation and the pricing. We talked about accessories, options, what the needs are of Chief Hutton. We got into what we'll call Plan B at this time. It was a lease option. The first option was to just purchase the chassis this year, and that left us open to price hikes to buy the cab and the remainder in future years. The Plan B option is basically where we lease it We lock in the price of roughly right now $850,000. We would receive an immediate $25,000 discount, and we would expect delivery in late 26, early 27, knowing our price and our payment. Those details have yet to be worked out. So the committee walked away with a recommendation to explore the purchase of a new fire engine using the Plan B methodology presented in the committee meeting, given a thorough review of the financial terms and conditions of the lease by the finance director and pending final council approval. So that was the recommendation from the committee. And then Chief McAllister talked about his needs relative to cruisers. We talked about the dash cams and the two different methodologies there to obtain those. You lose my report. I'll follow up in writing with everything as well.
Thank you, Councilman Schultz. I believe we also had a utility meeting last week. Scott, if you'd like to talk on that.
Yeah, we had an exhilarating meeting over at the wastewater treatment plants. Sue kept complaining of the smell.
I did not.
Told her it smells like bunny. But basically what we did is we introduced council to the sewer treatment plants. So we knew what we were talking about, when we're talking about them, and then we recognized that we need to have a commissioner meeting? What's it called?
Lake County Utilities meeting, right? Is that a Utilities Commission? Is that
The
what that-
utility commission meeting is the next thing we need to schedule. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Hamer. I believe we're looking at Service Committee meeting, Mr. Fenstermaker. Was that, am I saying 323?
We have one tentatively scheduled, but Denise, you did not post that, right?
No.
Okay, so we need to figure out, which is good, but we need to select a date the week of 3/25. The purpose of that meeting is to just go through the final documents that we want to put up on the website that'll show the roads and give them the ability to, look at the information. So
We need to set a date then, sir?
we need to set a date for this week
So
because we do want to
323
get it up
was
to the
just the
website.
soft date then, okay, it's not a...
3/23 was the date until
Gotcha.
somebody told me about this Easter bunny.
Okay.
So, I mean, from Joe's standpoint, during the week, what works best for you? Early mornings or afternoons?
Whatever works.
Not for the service department. 3 a.m. on Tuesday?
I'll be here, but
Well,
whatever works best for you.
Mr. Hamer, what about you? What time?
3:30 would be better.
3:30 in the morning?
Whatever works for everyone, I'm good with.
I'm open for early morning, sensible early morning, because I still need to go to early morning work.
What day are you thinking?
I was honestly thinking Tuesday, the 26th.
You want to meet up here at 7?
I'd prefer to meet before 6.
Let me check with Mr. Courtney.
Before 7. Mr. Courtney, would you prefer mornings or nights?
How early?
I was thinking 6 a.m.
6 a.m.?
Yeah,
Rough.
I know.
But I think I can do it.
You think you can do 6 a.m.?
I think I could, yeah.
What day is that, then? 25th?
Yeah. I mean, you can wear your jammies.
26.
25th or 26th?
The 26th, Tuesday at 6 a.m.
And I'm on that committee, I believe, also.
Anybody else interested in joining the service department? Oh, okay.
6
All right.
a.m.
So yes, if that works, Tuesday, 6 a.m.
So that works for
26.
that works for everybody then?
Yes, Tuesday, 3/26.
I was not joking.
Denise, you're more than welcome to join us too.
Oh, then, no, thank you.
I mean, I don't anticipate it being a long meeting, right? 30 minutes maybe?
Yeah, it won't be very long.
Yeah. And again, the whole objective is to just review the documents that we want to be able to get up on the website. So when we leave that, I'll send something off to everybody says we're ready to go with the website
26.
information. Mayor, when we do that, can we pull down the old information so there's no confusion on the website? Can you archive it on the website? Okay. Okay, that's fine.
Okay, anything else by way of, thank you, Mr. Fenstermaker. Anything else on standing committee reports? We did have two finance committee meetings. That was last week, which Mr. Slapnicker mentioned earlier, and nothing else coming up, correct? Okay, on to correspondence. Planning and Zoning Commission Resolution number 24-PZ-1. Do I need to read first page off on this one?
No.
For correspondence?
All you're doing is you're acknowledging receipt of that.
Okay.
I would ask that it be set for a public hearing. So this is a request to rezone a parcel. And according to our ordinance, it must be set for a public hearing. We have to give proper notice. Going off the top of my head, is it?
What are the April's
15
dates?
It's
then?
15 days notice. So
What,
it
do middle of
cannot.
April?
Correct. The ideal scenario is to hold this at the same time as a council meeting. The next hearing we have is not sufficient notice, so I would ask that it be scheduled for the meeting after.
April 15th?
I think April 15th. Thank you. So if
Tax day.
that's correct.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a great day.
Oh, tax day. Yeah, there you go, baby. Okay, so that will be, and that will just be open to public discussion on that. Is that going to be a resolution on
No. So the way it could work,
just any discussion on
we have to have
proposed?
so there's a public hearing, and if council approves of the rezone, okay, then at that point, I would draft legislation for the following meeting to place that that rezoned parcel, to have council place that rezoned parcel up for the election.
Correct.
Okay, because it's mandatory referendum.
Which will
zoning.
need 55% vote, is that what it is?
Correct. So that's if council passes after that hearing. Okay. Yes.
Should there be 3 readings, though?
So,
Because we have time.
so no, we have the public hearing on the rezone.
That'll be the
Okay?
15th.
Yes. So now what you can do at the rezone is you can say either I approve of the request,
forward.
the rezone as requested, or I approve of it with modifications. Okay, that's why we can't necessarily have an ordinance drafted. Okay, so if you do approve it with the modifications, then what we'll do is we'll have legislation, or if you approve it or approve it with modifications, then we'll have legislation drafted. It could go 3 readings at that point if you'd
So
like.
the first meeting of May, then there would be a resolution for that, and then we'll go through.
Correct. Correct. And then,
When does that have to, when's the latest that
I
can
wanna
go
say
through?
August.
August then, okay,
Yeah.
get on the ballot.
yeah, and then it will go on the November ballot. Now, but if council denies the rezone, it's dead in the water at that point, and it does not advance to the voters.
Okay.
So that's why there's not necessarily a requirement to have the legislation drafted at that point, because we don't know what council's going to do until after that hearing, because there will be that hearing, and then after the hearing's closed, you can deliberate and you can vote on it, okay? And then depending on what the vote is or what your discussion is at that point, you can say, all right, yes, we either don't want to, like we're against this rezone, or we're in favor of it, but with these modifications, or we're just in favor of it as is. Then at that, you could all craft a motion at that point, and then there'll be the vote, and then however the vote goes will dictate what we do next, if any. Understood? I mean, if you have questions on it, please don't hesitate to ask. I might have confused you, I don't know, but.
Mr.
Any
Latlow,
questions?
With respect, it's a verbal motion. If everything's kosher, it's a verbal motion, moves forward. If it's not, then we put something in writing.
It's yeah, I mean, we could craft a resolution. I mean, there's no need to craft a resolution or ordinance at that point if you vote against it. Okay,
But the being on the agenda prior to old business, that's all that's needed to
Correct.
recognize that.
correct.
Okay.
That's exactly right. Yes. Yes.
So it takes similar form to what it is right now if we agree on it and then change it. If it needs any modification, they'll be on the first
That's
reading in May.
exactly right.
Okay, and then 3 readings from there.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Lello. Any other questions pertaining to? Okay, on to old business. Any public comments on agenda items of old business? Not at this time? On to ordinance number 24-0-10, third reading. An ordinance setting the appropriation for the year 2024, and we are going to need a motion to modify pertaining to Mr. Slapnicker's conversation before.
There's a new exhibit. So it's a motion to modify and incorporate the new exhibit.
Motion to modify and to incorporate the new exhibit.
Yes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Who made the
We have to
motion?
second.
Mr. Ziegler? Second. Julie? Okay.
Any discussion on the motion to
Any
amend?
discussion on the changes?
There
So now we
being
need-
none, now we need a vote.
Yes, on that, no, not to, okay. Ms. Rowley, reading, please?
Mr. Schulz,
Abstain?
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Okay, now we're
So
a
now,
motion to wait
correct, it formally
the
goes
3
back
readings,
to
even
the
though this is
second
the
reading.
3rd reading, but due to the modification, which was just approved,
Motion to
so
waive the
we're going to
3
need a motion to waive the 3 readings. Mr. Ziegler,
And second by Ms. Simons.
second by
Oh, a second.
Oh,
Julie.
Ms. Simons, did you second it? Okay.
Ms. Simons?
Yep.
Thank you, Julie.
You
Any,
betcha.
any discussion?
Yeah, I probably should have said this last time, but this budget, the reason I'm abstaining is this budget includes dollars for a project that affects my property, so I will therefore abstain.
Any other discussion? Ms. Rowley?
Mr. Schulz,
Abstain?
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Now you'll entertain a motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt, okay. Not an emergency. Okay.
Motion to
Motion to
adopt.
adopt.
Second.
I didn't make the motion. I just was
Eric
asking for it.
Eric
So,
did.
Okay.
Mr.
Eric again.
Ziegler and Ms. Grazia?
Ms. Grazia,
I second, yes.
any discussion? Ms. Rowley?
Mr. Schulz,
Abstain?
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
All good? Excellent. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Slapnicker, for all the work you put in on this. Fantastic. Appreciate it. To resolution number 24-R-11, third reading, a resolution authorizing transfers of funds and declaring an emergency. Any discussion?
This one also needs a motion to modify to substitute the newly
Same
provided
process, motion modified,
exhibit.
motion.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Mr. Fenstermaker. Any discussion? Ms. Rowley?
Mr. Schulz,
Abstain?
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Now we're looking for a motion to waive the 3 readings because this is the 3rd reading and we modified. So looking for a motion?
Motion to waive the 3 reading.
Mr. Ziegler, thank you.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Rowley?
Mr. Schulz,
Abstain?
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Now we're looking for a motion to declare an emergency. No,
Adopt.
just to adopt?
Oh, I'm sorry, declare an emergency adopt.
Declare
You're
an
right.
emergency, correct? I got you
Good
finally
job,
one
Mr.
time.
Smolik.
One time a year. I get one up the lawyer. I can say I'm smarter one time. Okay, need a motion? Declare an
Declare an emergency, adopt.
Motion to declare an emergency and adopt.
Thank you, Julie.
And I second that.
Ms. Grazia with a second. Any discussion? Ms. Raleigh?
Mr. Schulz,
Same reason this budget includes dollars for a project that affects my property, so I will abstain.
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
You all good with that, Matt? Thank you. Okay, on to ordinance number 24-0-12, third reading. An ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of $2,647,000 of notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of retiring, together with other funds available to the city's outstanding various purpose notes, Series 2023, dated April 19th, 2023, and declaring an emergency. Any discussion? Looking for a, this was the third reading too, so we're looking for a
Motion to adopt.
declare
Declare
an emergency.
an emergency and adopt.
Second.
Mr. Fenstermaker and Ms. Simons. Any discussion? Ms. Raleigh?
Mr. Schulz,
Abstain.
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, on to, let's see, ordinance number 24-0-13, also a third reading. An ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of $2,500,000 of notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of paying costs of improving streets by reconstructing, resurfacing, grading, draining, paving, and making other improvements as designated in the plans approved or to be approved by council and declaring an emergency. Any discussion on this? Looking for a motion to declare an emergency and adopt?
I motion to declare an emergency and adopt.
Ms.
Second.
Grazia? Second? We have a second?
Second.
Mr. Fenstermaker? Any discussion? Ms. Raleigh?
Mr. Schulz,
I'm going to just state the same purpose this budget includes, or these dollars include money, or this pardon me, getting this wrong here. This ordinance includes dollars for a project that affects my property, therefore I abstain.
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Okay, on to new business. Public comments on agenda items of new business. We have one today. Any public comments today? Come on, jump on up. Is anything to say? Okay, on to ordinance number 24-0-19. An ordinance extending the agreement for economic development consulting services between Edward J. Eckert of E Squared Strategies LLC and the city of Kirtland and declaring an emergency. I believe, Mayor, we needed to get this cleared up for the end of the month?
That would be helpful, seeing that the contract does run out at the end of the month.
Okay. I'm going to need a motion to waive the three readings to start.
Motion to waive the three readings.
I second that.
Second by Ms. Grazia. Any discussions? Any questions?
Mayor, just regarding Eddie Eckhart, I think it was last council when we talked about renewing him that we asked to get quarterly reports from him. Whether it's a document, would be nice to see what projects he's working on and what activities going on. I still would like to see that. So if that's something we can have, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. Yep, no, of course. And just real quick, just to run down through some of the projects, we talked about the Old Town Grant that he was instrumental on, economic development opportunities, business and development, 6 and 306, having a lot of conversations with potential developers there. Sewers expansion specifically, downtown development, currently working on a grant opportunity to extend sanitary sewers through Congressman Joyce's office to 6 and 306 as a part of the upcoming federal budget. And also been making calls to vet out different firms to try to schedule interviews with community development firms to talk about ideas and concepts for downtown. So just before you vote, just it's helpful to run through some of those highlights. But yes, we'll get Eddie here, if not the next meeting, sometime in April.
Yeah, that's fine.
Mayor, I'd just like to also echo Councilman Fenstermaker's sentiment. You know, this did come up. I went back and I looked, you know, this ordinance references 21R45, and if you look at the Exhibit A, which is attached, it wasn't attached to this one that we received, but page 2, paragraph 2 of Exhibit A states that he will provide monthly reports on his activities. So I hope that we can at least see something right. We do know, you mentioned things, but we do know that he does do things, but that is in his Exhibit A for what he proposed.
Sure thing. You got it.
Point noted. Any other questions? I believe
Good, thank you.
we had a motion to waive the 3 readings by Ms. Simons and a second by Sue. So we need a Ms. Rowley, roll call on that.
Mr. Schulz,
Yes.
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
And now on to a motion to declare an emergency and adopt.
I motion to declare an emergency and adopt.
Ms. Grazia,
Second.
second by Julie. Any discussion, questions? Ms. Rowley?
Also echo the
Go right
mayor's
ahead.
sentiment that there's no increase in salary for him. So it stays the same.
Any other questions? Ms. Rowley?
Mr. Schulz,
Yes.
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
On to council comments. Any council comments at this time?
Just in closing, I do want to, again, thank all the department heads on the budget process and the conversations. I think Mayor did mention there were some tough conversations this time around, but conversations that were respectful, and I think that's key. I think that's a big portion of any time we're talking about, things that are very challenging. Finances are always challenging, especially in the city of Kirtland. So, we had some good discussions and we kept emotions in check and we did respectful. So I want to thank everybody, including council, for doing that. I think it made the process a lot easier. And that's the way it should be done. Just for reference, that's my expectations always, is that's how it should be done. So I do want to thank everyone for that. And just one last thing on the $2.5 million note that we just passed. I want to stress from my perspective only, I'm not speaking for anybody else. I hope it's the last time we're borrowing a bond to pay for roads, and that we as council and administration work to find some secured sources of revenue to take care of our roads, because this is not the best option. While it is our best option today, it is not the long-term fix. Okay, so I want to stress that. This is not the long-term fix. We're in a good position because of the hard work of everybody over there and council here and prior to be able to do this, but this is not what we want to be doing. So.
Correct, Mr. Fenstermaker. This is something we can do every year.
I just want to piggyback off of Councilman Fenstermaker that we should set our fall priorities on meeting with our capital team and going over these things for the next year so that when we do hit our budget time,
yeah,
ready to roll. So I know that was a big thing we wanted to bring up, but just moving forward, let's get some meetings on the agenda for the fall to go over capital requests so that we can get those in line for this next year.
It also gives the department heads the opportunities to I won't call it a shell game, but everybody puts out the wish list of everything we need, And we can have those discussions of where we can and cannot go versus just trying to compress it and push it through as hard as we can. So it just gives everybody more time.
And then again, I want to also start having the conversation in May to June on maybe a road funding strategy moving forward. What do we want to put in front of the public? What do we want to do to come up with the long-term plan so that we're not having to borrow money anymore?
Right.
So just kind of put that in your minds that we want to start discussing this in May, end of May, June.
Present the residents with a funding mechanism, correct?
Yep.
And
Thank you, Mr. Ziegler. Thank you, Mr. Fenstermaker.
the only thing I would add to that, and on piggyback on Mr. Ziegler's sentiment, those meetings probably should start in April. Just,
Okay.
and here's why, because if something is going to go to the voters in the fall, legislation would have to be drafted potentially as early as early June, so, or late May.
Goal set.
Because you do have the week and a half off between June and July, so you kind of have to have something rolling if you're going to. Thank you, Mayor Potter. Any other council comments?
No other comments, thank you.
Any other continuing concerns?
Superintendent Van Arnhem, I think, would like the floor. Is that true?
Yeah.
Why not?
Now's the time.
Yeah, got your renewal up. We don't got any money.
We're good. I just want to come tonight in front of council and mayor.
Sir, can you please state your name and your address?
Chad Van Arnhem, 10284
Thank you, sir.
Christina Drive, Berlin. To thank our first responders. We had a medical emergency of the worst kind on March 13th at the school. Our staff that was there responded as well as humanly possible and did everything they could. The first responders came flying in and took over with one of our nurses. And I'm proud to say the student's doing well. The reason I'm late wasn't, I was going to come up with like the bridge is closed, and that's why I was late. I was talking with the family and I had the chance to talk to the student. So sorry I was late for that, but he's doing awesome. I'm not going to get into how he's doing medically, but I felt that I needed to come here and say thank you. The training that you guys had for your team, police and EMT to come in and do everything they did, it made a difference, right? Our staff, did everything they could. I think the combination and collaborative nature of everyone and their training really saved someone's life. So at the end of the day, I'm proud to be here to report that our students doing well because of our first responders and our staff that responded. So thank you. School gives you guys an A+ on your efforts. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other continuing concerns?
Motion to adjourn.
Move for adjournment?
Second.